Hello everyone, welcome to this new tutorial in the series of tutorials in which we are talking about a brand new library called skTime. So particularly we are talking about how to do time series analysis in skTime library. Now for the last few lectures I've been talking about forecasting for a time series data, for a univariate time series data, whereas univariate means only one variable. And from the last lesson particularly, I've started discussing about statistical forecasting methods, and in particular I started the discussion on statistical forecasting methods using exponential smoothing methods. So let me show you that slide. We talked about three different types of exponential smoothing methods: simple, double and triple. And I also discussed how each of these three methods are used in different scenarios. Simple exponential smoothing method is used where there is no trend and no visible seasonality is there in the time series data. Double exponential smoothing method is used where there is a visible trend in the time series data. On the other hand, triple exponential smoothing method is used where there is a visible trend as well as visible seasonality in the data. Now in this video, what I want to do is I want to explain all of you how exponential smoothing works from inside, because in the last class what we did was we talked about all of these methods from an overview of perspective, and we did not go into how does these methods work. Okay, we just used the class provided by skTime library, and we just took help of that library, and we introduced some concepts there only, and we did not actually go too much deep into how does these methods calculate the forecasts. Now in this video I will not be going over any skTime stuff. So if any of you guys are not interested in these kind of stuffs, so you can probably not consider watching this video, because in future I will be uploading obviously more skTime related videos, but this video particularly has no skTime component to it. So I'll just be showing you, but that doesn't mean I will not be demonstrating my concepts through code. Code will be there, Python code will be there, but I will be just showing all of you that how does this simple exponential smoothing method works from inside out. Because I feel that if you guys can understand how does simple exponential smoothing works, then you won't be having much difficulty understanding double and triple exponential smoothing. So that is why I will be creating a fake data, fake kind of data, fake time series data, and I will kind of go over how to use simple exponential. So we will kind of implement our own simple exponential smoothing method. Okay, so if you guys are interested in this kind of stuff, you should continue watching this video. Otherwise, if you are more interested in skTime only, then you will probably see a video in coming few days, 1 or 2 days, on skTime only. Okay, because after that we will be talking about other statistical forecast in skTime like ARIMA and other related processes. Okay, so let's get right into the video. Again, before moving forward, I would like to request all of you guys that if you guys like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel Data Geek RJ. I upload this kind of content on a constant basis on my channel, and also if you like this particular video, consider giving it a thumbs up. Okay, so let's get started with the video. So what I would like to show you is I will not be going too much into double and triple exponential as I mentioned earlier. I will just be showing you and demonstrating you how does this simple exponential smoothing works. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all let me let me go to this folder. Yeah, so let me open Jupyter Notebook here, because I would need Jupyter Notebook to explain you the concepts that I want to explain. So I'll open Jupyter Notebook right into this folder, and once Jupyter Notebook has been imported, I would like to take all of your attention to this formula. And if you guys are having some hard time understanding what F and A represents here, then let me tell you, F stands for forecast, A stands for actual values, and T stands for timestamp. So T is the current timestamp, whereas T plus 1 is the timestamp in future. Okay, so then if I tell you what F and A are, then I think it would be quite easy to understand this formula. And some of you might be asking this question, that what is alpha doing here? Now alpha is a so-called hyperparameter for a simple exponential smoothing method, and this hyperparameter is not having, so this is what we are trying to find out. This alpha, the best value of alpha, is what we are interested in finding out. Okay, once we get that best value of alpha, then our job is done, and simple exponential smoothing method, we have successfully understood how does simple exponential smoothing method works. Okay, so so now let me do one thing. Let me open a new Python 3 notebook, and in this Python 3 notebook, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to implement this kind of structure. So I'll call it as video 9, and inner working of simple exponential smoothing methods. Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all create a list, and that list will serve as a you can think of that list as a demo time series data. So I'll say 10, 12, 14, 17, 20, and then we will have 21, 23, 27, 28. So let's say that this is our demo time series data, and let me import matplotlib. Okay, and let me plot this demo data. Okay, so this is the kind of data that we are having. Okay, clearly this particular data is having a trend, and that trend is kind of an additive trend. So what we are interested in is, we are interested in implementing this formula in our Python code and to predict forecasted values. So how does it work? Now here in this formula, if you notice, how are we going to generate the first forecasted value? Because if you just look at it, the t plus 1, if I substitute t plus 1 is equal to 1, so if I say something like t plus 1 is equal to 1, so essentially what I am interested in is the forecasted value of 1, then in this case t will be 0. So if t is 0, then I need a0 and f0 to get the first forecasted value. Okay, how can I compute a0? A0 means the actual value at a timestamp 0. Okay, and f0 means forecasted value at a timestamp 0. Okay, so that is why what we do is we leave the first value, or rather let me show you what exactly I am trying to say. So in the demo, in a demo time series data, what I am going to do is I am not going to forecast the first value, the value corresponding to first timestamp. So essentially, so if I have to define a time step, so I'll say something like list range len of this demo, and I should probably define it below demo. Okay, and I should probably do it from 1 to length 1 to length plus 1. and let me print time step. Okay, so time step is from 1 to 9. So we are having 9 values here. Yes. So the first time stamp is having the value called 10. Now this 10 will not be having any forecasted value according to simple exponential method. And I think it doesn't matter if we are not able to find the forecasted value for the first timestamp, because we will be able to calculate the forecasted value of next timestamps. Okay, because the reason that we are not able to find it, because we don't have any value of a0 and f0. Okay, now how do we decide what is the best value of alpha? So for the time being, let me just use the value as 0.2, and don't try to think that why did I take only 0.2, why not 0.3. If you are thinking why didn't I take 0.3, then let me just take 0.3 only, because right now I'm not thinking any appropriate value for alpha. I'll tell you exactly how these values are computed in the in the backend of skTime and in other packages, how these things are computed. But right now what I want to show you is how does this algorithm work. Okay, how does this formula is actually played out in real sense. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a list called predicted values, or rather I should say forecasted values. I'll make a list and I'll say something like for value in what? I think I should probably wait a second. I'm thinking that how should I implement this particular structure. So what I need to do is I need to just uh, take the previous actual value and previous forecast, right? And okay, yeah, so what I'm going to do is, so previous forecast, so what would be the, so if I am trying to predict the forecast for 12 for the second timestamp, what will be the previous forecasted value? Previous forecasted value we will be taking as 10. Okay, so yeah, so then 10 is the actual and 10 is the 10 is the 10 is actual as well as 10 is the predicted value, because earlier in the first timestamp we are assuming that the forecasted value is equal to the actual value. Okay, so I'll say something like for value in, I'll say demo. Let's do it demo. Okay, and let me also fill this forecasted values as 10. Okay, and let me also do this as for I in range of len of demo. And now what I'm going to do is, so now I have access to the indexes of this demo. What I can do is I can say something like forecasted values dot append, and I would append a value called forecast, and forecast would be what? Forecast would be, so currently I am, for example, I am on the 0th index, so I'll be starting it from 1. So because for 0 I cannot do anything, but for 1 I can do something. So what I will do is I'll say the demo of I minus 1 plus the forecasted values I minus 1. And now since for 1 this will be resulting in 0, I minus 1, and we are having a value for 0. I hope you are getting the points. So for demo, let me see here. For actual values, we are multiplying it by alpha. Let me multiply it by alpha. And for forecasted values, we are multiplying it by 1 minus alpha. Okay, I hope it is going to work. So let's see. So if I hit enter, yeah. So let's print the forecasted values. So we can clearly see that the first forecasted value is 10 The second forecasted value is 10.0, the third forecasted value is 10.6, and so on. Let us now use plt.plot to print this, to plot these forecasted values. Okay, so you can clearly see this is able to capture the trend, and I think you would have been able to get what exactly I'm trying to do. But still, from the predicted value itself, last actual value is 28, but our simple exponential smoothing method is predicting 21.5. So probably we need to change the value of alpha. Let's try out different values of alpha, and let's also make a loss function, so that we will be able to kind of judge the performance of our forecasting algorithm. If you guys remember, in the skTime library, there is a function called SMAP loss, which just take absolute difference and calculate some sort of percentage. But what I'm trying to do is what I will be doing is I will just be subtracting the actual and predicted, actual and forecasted, and I'll take the average of it, because I know it's wrong, and there is no such method for time series that just takes the average of the difference of actual and the predicted. But what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to measure the performance quickly. So that is why what I'm going to do is, or rather what I can do is I can also import skTime's SMAP loss. So you can do that, but what I'm going to do is I can make a function quickly, actual and predicted, and what I'm going to do is I will say for I in range of len of actual, and I'll say, so let's say required loss is equal to 0, and I'll say required loss, so it's like sum of squared of loss. I know it's not fully correct, but still I'm trying to see what is the distance between actual and I'm implementing this to just kind of see the distance between actual and predicted values, forecasted values. Okay, I'll say power of actual of I minus predicted I 2. Okay, and return required loss divided by length of actual. So I'm sending the average sum of squared errors. So let me compute the loss that we are getting right now. So right now we are having forecasted values and demo, or rather I should say, but it does not matter. Even if I change the way, so this loss function is taking actual value first, but the way this function has been implemented, it simply doesn't matter if I pass forecasted value in place of actual or not. So our loss is 30.25 something. Okay, now what we can do is we can copy this code, okay, and we can reassign the value of alpha. Let's reassign it to 0.1, and let's recalculate the forecasted values. Okay, clearly this time forecasted value is even worse. So let's see if our loss function clearly captures this, because the last value is this time 15.29, whereas the actual value is about, okay, clearly our loss function is able to capture this. Loss is really huge this time. So clearly lowering the alpha value is not working. So what we are going to do is we are going to increase the alpha value a little bit. Let's see if that works or not. So let me do 0.4, and now let me print the forecasted values. So this time our last value has increased a little bit. So let me compute the loss again. So I'll say I'll copy this code right here. Yeah, so loss has decreased a little bit from earlier loss. So let me now try one more time, and this will be the last time. So I'll say alpha as 0.7, but don't you think the alpha of 0.7 will be just same as, no, I don't think. Yeah, so let me run this. I thought these values are equal. So what I was trying to say is that since we are multiplying this by alpha, this by 1 minus alpha. So if I'm taking 0.7, then this will become 0.3, this will become 0.7. But since these values are different, demo and forecasted values are different, that is why this result is going to be different. I thought otherwise. Okay, so alpha is equal to 0.7, and let me now copy paste this code, and let me see forecasted values. Okay, so forecasted value is increasing, as you can see, and I think this time the loss will be even lower. Yeah, so so I think you get the idea. So the basic idea and the basic thing that I want all of you to take away from this video is that this is how this forecasting thing works. Now you might be asking yourself that what is the best value of alpha? What will be the perfect value that will, you know, that will kind of get that perfect performance? That those values, those perfect values, are computed using what is called as numerical optimization techniques. So that I am not aware of how those things actually plays out, but one thing is quite sure, that there are numerical search algorithms which search for all the possible values of alpha and which tell you the exact value that will yield the best result. Okay, and one more thing I want all of you to notice is that if I put alpha is equal to 1, then this term will become 0, and the forecasted value, next forecasted value, and this is also alpha is equal to 1, so this will only reduce to the previous value. So every next forecasted value, I am predicting that value as the previous actual value. So I hope you get the idea. Okay, so with this particular last discussion, I would like to stop this video right here, and I want all of you to kind of see and practice this particular thing, and see if you can. I think my computer is not working, so what the hell is happened? Yeah, so I hope so basically what I was trying to say is that this exponential smoothing, this simple exponential smoothing, this is how it works. Now if I talk about double and triple exponential smoothing methods, the number of hyperparameter in those methods increases. Like in the double exponential smoothing method with alpha, we also have one more hyperparameter called beta. So in that case, this search becomes a little bit difficult because we have to now take care of two values, alpha and at the same time beta. Now if, for example, if you are talking about triple, then there is one more hyperparameter called gamma. Now there is this thing called dampening of time series, and what do we mean by dampening? I'll talk more about that in some later lectures. What dampening means is the way exponential smoothing methods are created is that they will always, if for example our time series is showing some trend, and the way double exponential smoothing methods are created, they will only continue to show either increasing or decreasing trend. So what dampening does is, after a certain point of time, it will kind of move that trend in opposite direction. So for example, if your time series is just increasing, so what dampening will do is, after a certain point of time, it will start to decrease that particular time series data. So for that also we have some hyperparameters called dampening constant, I guess, dampening coefficient, I guess. So those coefficients, those constants are also needs to be configured. So that is why that is why I did not take the example of double and triple, because that becomes really complicated, and that is the work for numerical optimization, and you do not need to worry about those things if you are just trying to learn how to solve your task with time series analysis with these forecasting methods, because you simply need to understand how does those things works, and you do not need to particularly know how exactly these dampening things are computed. So there are numerical optimization techniques that we know, and this is, I think this is what we need to know. I think if you are really serious into these things, then I think you would probably need to understand how these things are computed under the hood. Okay, so with that said, I'll stop this video right here. And as mentioned earlier, if you guys like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and also please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Okay, so thank you so much guys, have a nice day.